Ladies and gentlemen, a recent survey of our Singapore Gen Z actually yield very interesting results. Given that most of you have children that are of Gen Z, I think it's very important for you to watch this. And I would like to give you my experience and my advice to them. So please just watch on because our children are our most important aspiration in our life, and we want them to do well. And I think some of their values is indeed something we need to review. In a nutshell, our Gen Z aspirations are very high, and there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's good. But I think the issues are the details, and I would like to give some very strong advice to our Gen Z, which is our children. So, a very interesting interview came out in MediaCorp in Singapore tonight. They look at the Gen Z attitude towards jobs, savings, and retirement. And it's very important for us to watch this as parents because we really want to make sure our children gear towards the right attitude towards life, because what you do today will determine how you end up in the right goal. So when I was in my late 20s, early 30s, I was fortunate because I met Mr. So Chin Heng, which is my financial mentor. He directed me in the right path. So I did right things then, and as a result, things compound well, things turn out well, whatsoever. But if we then set the wrong aspiration, wrong values, and then 10, 20, 30 years later, we found out that we end up in the wrong place, there's no time to turn around. So it's very important for us to get the right things right while they are still young and while they're still moldable and willing to learn. So a recent survey by CNA Money Mind suggested a gap between Gen Z attitude towards job savings or retirement and their actual financial behavior. So this is quite concerning, right? What they want to achieve versus what they are doing is going in two different paths. So the survey polled about 3,000 respondents between 21 to 28 years old across 6 countries. The details is will be captured in my video, and I would like to share with you my views, and more importantly, I would like to poll everybody for what you think all these aspirations and views. So first of all, I think it's important for us to define what Generation Z is about, or I pronounce as Gen Z. Well, it refers to people born roughly between 1997 and 2012. I don't know why they are called Gen Z. I think we are called Gen whatever, Gen X, maybe, okay? Or the generation right between myself and Gen Z is called Gen X or Gen Y. Okay, so I think we are called Gen X, and then in between us are called Gen Y, then Gen Z, something like that. Gen Z basically are digital natives. They grew up knowing digital phones, social media, and the internet really well. For us, we are digital converts, but they are born digital natives. A lot of them don't flip as much books compared to us. They started with iPads, digital phones, and smartphones. And they have got a diverse values, right? They prioritize authenticity, inclusion, and diversity as well. And they value mental well-being and things like that. So I think those things are quite important. They have different work attitudes compared to the earlier generations. I think they value a lot of flexibility, purpose, work-life balance, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Okay, where we in our generation we focus a lot on traditional job security, income, wealth, prosperity, blah blah blah. But they are also in the generation where they face a lot of financial concern. So many face educational costs, housing unaffordability, especially in Singapore, and economic uncertainty because they grew up in a time where there's COVID, there's great inflation, now there's Trump tariff and so on. So there's a lot of economic uncertainty. But I think it's important for us to at least know and set the right definition who are Gen Z. And I think most of you all have children that belong to Gen Z. All my children are Gen Z, so it's important for me to share with you my learnings. The first thing that they do, which I think is a very great thing, is that about 20%, 19% to be precise, say that they will save more than half their month pay. So this is very good. It's very, very good, right? The more you save, the more you have got dry powder to accumulate. And I assume that more, while is 1/5 of them will save more than half the pay, maybe slightly more will save one third their pay or one quarter of their pay, whatever. As long as you save, 10 to 20, 30, 40%, it's just remarkable, right? So I think it's good that, our children have a philosophy that saving money is actually very important, because once you have got savings, you can accumulate dry powder for investment and compounding. And about 54% said that they need $1 million or more to achieve financial freedom by 55 years old. So I think the word is financial freedom. It basically says that after that, they can do what they want and things like that. So a lot of people say that $1 million, 54 years old, really, man, and I assume that this is on top of their house, because house, you can't rely on your house to eat, right? Unless you downgrade and things like that, which some people will do it, some people won't. This is not a forum to discuss about that, but they need an expected $1 million or more to financially be free by 55 years old. A lot of people wondering whether this number is correct. They ask me, and I'll just say, I think it's too little. I think it's too little. I'm not trying to be atas or whatever. The key thing is this: they want to be financially free, and let me stretch that word a bit to retirement. Okay, if you want to retire and do whatever you want by 55 years old, then your math is correct. Okay, your math is correct. You need 1 million more than 1 million, because 55 years old is, frankly speaking, too young to retire with no income. So it is very important for everybody to note that the older you stop working, the less you need for retirement. So for financial freedom, $1 million or more by 55 years old, I'll just tell you, it is not enough. Not enough. Like, you just work out the mathematics, it is not enough. So the idea is to make sure that you continue to work, right? But they don't want, because they want to do something else. And I'll elaborate that, okay? So 36%, more than one third of them, plans to work for another 21 to 30 years. Now, take note, they are young people. They only want to work for 20 to 30 years more in the workforce, okay? So let's stretch the limit, okay? Let's stretch the limit. The oldest is 30 years old, let's say, or 28 years old, and they only want to work for 30 years old, so it's 58 years old. The latest they want to retire is 58 years old. Now let's stretch the youngest, okay? The youngest will be about 21 years old, and then they want to work only for 21 years, so that's 42 years. So between 42 years and 58 years, that's the number of years they want to be in a workforce. I think we should tweak the definition, because looking at the numbers, it spells another attitude. What they are actually saying is probably this, and please correct me if I'm wrong. These are the years they are spending in work that they don't like, but they need it for income. Okay, let me say again. If the idea is to slog for 21 to 30 years, okay, in a work that you don't like, but you no choice got to work because of income, I'll just say this, contradictory to a lot of people, this number of years is too long. Too long. You should not work in a job, okay, that you don't like, okay, for 21 to 30 years. Yeah. Now, some initial years, no choice, economy is bad, situation is bad, no job and things like that. Then you got to find a job that you don't like. I can understand. But along the way, when things get better, okay, you improve your skill whatsoever, please go find a job that you like, okay? And when you find a job that you like, you don't really want to retire, okay? You ask many people in jobs that they love, they enjoy, whatsoever, they don't really want to retire, okay? So basically, my encouragement to everybody is this, that this number need to be reduced, but not because you want to stop working, but because you want to move from a job that you work for money to a job that you work for passion, okay? And it is possible to balance passion and money, right? It is possible, right? Now, it's very difficult to do it in the short run. In 1 year, 2 years, very difficult to find. But this is projecting forward for a long time, right? Don't tell me you cannot find one in 5 years, right? You can prepare yourself for it. So what's the optimum period to stay in the job? 2.9 years. So young people say, I'll only really stay for 2.9 years. Incidentally, in the region that they interviewed, this is the lowest. China, they say 4 over years, okay? I will just say these, 2.9 years, it's for young Gen Z, the first job, okay? It's, to be frank, in my opinion, long. the initial years, some, including internships and part-time jobs and things like that, please go try out as many jobs as possible so that you know what job you like and what job you don't like. Okay, what you're good at naturally and what job you're not good at naturally. Unfortunately, this concept didn't come to me early, so I didn't have this notion only when I was in my mid 30s to late 30s. Then I figure out what am I good at, what do I have a natural advantage in, what do I have an unfair advantage in, and what jobs I hate or whatsoever. Those days we don't have a concept of hating jobs and things like that. So we just do work because we want to earn money, climb corporate ladders and things like that. But I would like to encourage everybody, if you are starting work and these 2.9 years reflect the early years, go jump different jobs so that you learn different things, learn a lot of experience, so that later years, when you're in your 30s, 40s, or 50s, you stabilize in an industry or a company for much longer period, 5, 10, 20 years, right? So initial years, shorter years, later years, longer years. Agree with me? Okay. So this is where it's interesting. About more than 50% of them expect a starting salary of 5,000 or more. And this is way, 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 way higher in the whole region. This is probably one of the highest globally. Okay. And I can say for sure, this is higher than Europe. US, I'm not too sure. Okay, this definitely higher than Europe and definitely one of the highest in the region. And Channel News Asia actually proved it. Now, I'm not here to tell everybody you're not realistic whatsoever. I'll come to that in a short while. I think it is very important for us to share with our children, our Gen Zs, that be flexible with your starting pay is not as important as the starting experience and learning value and exposure. Okay, that is a lot more important, because once your value goes, your pay could rise exponentially or pay could rise normally. This is the same thing as compounding. Compounding says this: even if you start with a small number, but the percentage is very high, you can rise very fast. But if you have a high starting pay, but you grow very slowly, then the compounding is very low. And I just want to say that it is important for there to be a subsistence salary whatsoever, maybe, as much as you can. But if a job offer you an incredible learning and exposure experience, grab that. Very important is, who do you get exposed to? What do you get exposed to? If you get a very good, very, very good mentor, let's say I'm just thinking aloud, if I have a chance to work beside Li Ka-shing, right? I'll work for free. Okay, I work for free, right? For 1 year, 2 years, I work for free, right? I'm deeply, because after that, my CV, I can command any pay I want. For example, if I work beside Alibaba founder Jack Ma, for example, I work beside, let's not use Elon Musk. Let's say Steve Jobs in the past, right? I work for free anytime, man, anytime. Okay. A lot of you are saying, Mr. Lu, this is not realistic. No, I'm just sharing you my perspective. I'll be very conservative in my expenditure in exchange for that. Because once that 1 or 2 or 3 years is over, I just put beside personal assistant of Steve Jobs. Do you know how much that is worth? Phenomenal, right? So I know cost of living is very expensive in Singapore. I do know, okay? But I do know that after spending many years in life, and exposure, I think more important is the experience and the learning value, especially when you're young. Now, interestingly and contradictory, 71% agree or strongly agree it's now more difficult to find a job compared to older generation. I would agree with that in this current time, like right now. Usually, just 2 years ago, it wasn't this way. Right now, it is. Okay, right, it is because of Trump war, because of AI disruption, and so on. So my encouragement to everybody right now is, accept lower pay, accept jobs in the starting they may not exactly fit what you really want. This is a time where you don't mess around with subsistence, right? So you get some subsistence, but in a part-time, in your spare time, learn and get yourself exposed to other things, right? Focus your initial years on building your inner worth, okay? You will find that your inner worth, once it compounds, it brings you tremendous economic value in later stage of life and make you happier. A lot of them talk about mental well-being and things like that. When you work in a job that you like, okay, there is no stress. There is very little stress. Okay, very little stress, and you can do really, really very well. Okay, this is what I strongly encourage in wrapping up. Okay, find a job that you are passionate about as soon as you can, and later in your life you will never want to retire. Okay, later on retire. If you are in a job that you don't like, especially young people, old people, I think a lot of them are very resistant to changes because you got financial commitment, you got very difficult to learn new skill whatsoever. I understand. But for our children, please tell them to find a job that they are passionate about so that they will never want to retire and go on forever in their 60s or even 70s. Okay, find a good life mentor, a career coach. Okay, and I can only do some YouTube videos. Most youngsters don't like to watch my video because I'm an uncle. So I will rely on you guys who are mostly in your 30s, 40s, 50s, or 60s, 70s to guide your own children, but get them good life career mentors. Okay, very important. Ask them to find one. And these life and career mentors rarely is their own managers and their own bosses. It needs to be something else. Get someone good in their community centers or churches or religious organization whatsoever, friends and family, uncles whatsoever, okay, and aunties. So I also want to encourage all of them to pick up entrepreneurial passions, okay, and aspiration. Now, a lot of Singaporeans don't like to become entrepreneur. I understand, okay, but when possible, pick up entrepreneurial aspiration so that the only people that can fire you is your customers. Okay, yep. So I think it's important for us to learn that we really this is one option that we got to encourage our children not to be afraid. Let me say this, do not take this lightly. If there's one thing, okay, it's the one thing that you want to focus on this session is please ask our children to pick up artificial intelligence skills aggressively, set to change the world, like how internet changed our world. They are exactly the digital natives. It's very easy for them to pick up. Uncle and aunties like us, okay, in our 50s, 60s, 70s, we can at best play catch up. I'm doing my part to see how I can do it to help everybody, but we can at most do catch up. But young Singaporeans can leapfrog, okay, leapfrog, and they must. It's a non-negotiable, okay? They can leapfrog in this thing. And last and probably more important is that tell them not to be in a rush to get rich. Appreciate the power of compounding in your wealth. Appreciate the power of compounding in your skill sets, okay? And you can become very, very rich in future, very, very well to do, and you can be financially free to do whatever you want at a later stage. But do not be in a rush to get rich and destroy the power of compounding. The snowball, okay, the snowball will roll very well, but when you push it, the snowball, when it rolls down the mountain, okay, when you let it roll gradually, you build up bigger and bigger and bigger. But when the snowball, you push it, the snowball might break. Okay, so please share that all this with your children. I really want all you all to do well. Okay, so please hit subscribe and don't miss it. Okay. Last is a digression. Donald Trump, these few days, is in a foul, volatile, and bully mood again. He's outright go after all these countries with aggressive tariffs. Okay. Hopefully, the market will crash. Okay. I don't think it'll crash a lot, but will crash somewhat. And we have a chance to bottom fish. I'm not sure. Okay. I'm not sure this will happen. Okay. I'm not sure this happen. But if it does happen, I'll quickly alert everybody. I'll fire shots. You can follow me in my live stream. I'll fire shots live. I've shown it again, that when I fire, I tell everybody. So you can hit subscribe right now so that you won't miss all these things. It's an important note, okay, that this week might be the chance that this thing happen. So thank you for watching. Share that with our children, and I'll see you tonight or later.